National Guard troops do not and have never belonged on American streets in opposition to their fellow Americans. And the whole legal thing has already been parsed out in the courts. Several judges have already weighed in on this, but from a principled stance, they simply do not belong. As they stand, the whole point of the National Guard has been to exist as a domestic defense capability that comprises of both an air and an army component, and they've always maintained this dual position between being a reserve component for the standing military, as well as a domestic defense force organized as state militias. Although when we talk about the National Guard deployment, we're mostly talking about the Army National Guard. And look, this concept makes sense when we understand that the Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, all those guys are sent abroad to fight for our national defense. There should be someone back in the back watching the chicken coop. And that's why their mission set is to repel invasion, suppress rebellion, or enforce federal laws. But notice how crime fighting isn't on that list. And this comes down to a simple problem to solution comparison, right? What solutions does the National Guard offer? They are a force of violence. They have semi-automatic rifles, they have pistols, they have radios, they have zip ties, and maybe knives. They don't have anything in their tool belt or in their capabilities that is not meant to use violence to disencourage activity, in a way of putting that the nicest. Okay, so they're prepared to offer killing and the occasional subduing of an individual. What part of crime reduction or protest support or civil disobedience requires armed thugs ready to kill? That just doesn't seem to jive with the way that our justice system, at least on paper, is supposed to work. So let's say that, a situation breaks out. Let's say it's a protest, and we put hired guns out there. How are they supposed to stop the protest if not to shoot somebody? How are hired guns supposed to stop crime? The same way that police do, by just shooting everything they see? How so? Our streets aren't some cartoonish hellscape overrunning with criminals like Arkham City. In fact, most crime is just petty theft and burglary. Violent crimes typically happen behind closed doors between parties that already know each other. So how's the National Guard going to stop that? By putting one on every corner and in every home? What about the corners they aren't on? What about the places they can't see? So we just make a surveillance state so that everyone is watched at all points in time and prevent them from doing anything that you could ever consider to be evil. And if you do see them do it, you pull out a gun and shoot them. Is that conducive to a free and open society? Crime is opportunity plus motive plus environmental conditions. You want to remove crime, remove the conditions that create it, not by targeting people, and certainly not by putting armed killers out there to keep the peace. But Donnie Doofus knows that. He and his ilk want his flashy show of force because it can look like it's working. More arrests obviously mean less crime, right? All of this is to say that if you truly and utterly want to stop the problems that we keep sending the National Guard out for, you address those societies at the level of which those issues occur. The National Guard isn't going to make policy decisions or have conversations to help appease people that are protesting. The National Guard isn't going to negotiate salaries in order to stop a strike. The National Guard isn't going to investigate and communicate with communities in order to help reduce crime by giving people more opportunities. The National Guard is a hammer meant for one purpose, hitting a specific kind of nail. And that's why the real National Guard is the friends you've made along the way.